See, there are no Portuguese houses as such.
This is
the
something that I
houses which were built in Portuguese era are the Portuguese houses.
So basically, there is nothing called Portuguese. The same houses are not formed in Portugal.
There is no Portuguese architectural which is that. The houses which were built during Portuguese era, which are still there.
Yeah.
Still, there are a lot of structures that these are called Portuguese houses.
Welcome to Susegaad Musings, the brand new talk show that's all about the sun-kissed, beautiful state of Goa. Co-hosted by Amit, Chopra and myself, Ryan Lobo, we talk about the real Goa by speaking to people who call Goa their home.
When we talk of the Indo-Portuguese architecture, one of the elements what came in from the traditional form of building in Goa were the Mangalore tiles. The Mangalore tiles are made of clay, natural material, and they don't absorb heat. They don't retain heat. So the difference between a cement tile and a Mangalore tile which is made of clay is retention of heat. Concrete tiles retain heat and give it out at night. That's why when you come into a city you find it hot at night because of the concrete surfaces, the plastered surfaces, which was not the case with this natural Mangalore tile.
The third episode of Susegaad Musings features two guests. We have Dr. Desh Desai and Bharat Kamat. Dr. Desh, as he likes to be called, is a doctor. He owns a hospital and now is into real estate development along with his son. He shares about the Goa of old and his views on the architecture of Goa. Bharat Kamat is the chairman of India Green Building Council and shares about how the construction and building materials of Portuguese houses actually used green building techniques. We prefer to have our guests Dr. Desh and Bharat Kamat share about it like only they can. So let's get straight into this episode of Susegaad Musings. So welcome to this new episode. Thank you Dr. Desh and Mr. Bharat for coming on our show. Amit, so Dr. Desh has a very rich understanding of how Goa started post-liberation. So we were talking about that. What would you like to say? Like, what was your experience? Because we haven't been born in that area. Even Bharat was born 10 years later. So that would be an interesting way to start.
Basically, what happened is like this. I was just born when Goa went into liberation. So after post-liberation era grew along with my childhood. And I was a little bit fortunate to have, because my father is a medical officer. He joined government office as a health officer in medical field, and he started getting transferred. In fact, Goa, Daman, Diu. So right from Goa to Diu, he got transferred, and we were roaming around with him. Oh. So I could see many places, like small places like Malpoi, which is grown now, which I have seen as a small place, small village. Sange growing up, Kursharem growing up, Resh Magus. So, in my childhood, I have seen since the age of 6 years, 7 years, I could remember the dates, how Goa has grown up. And in fact, how we call it post-liberation, post-Portuguese era is, early morning when he used to get up, particularly I have seen my father used to go in the balcony and the people around, Bondi he used to say, in Portuguese, good morning. And these are the words which, we have been hearing, because basically I don't know Portuguese, but basically I have seen people from Portuguese era coming to post-liberation and how the things are growing up. The bhatkars I have seen, the way how, the business growing, and slowly the way how the real estate is growing.
Yeah. So nowadays, not all people may know what bhatkars mean, because this podcast is going to be watched like all over India. So can you tell us what is bhatkars? What is the present image of a bhatkar? Because nowadays I think it's used commonly. Just to talk to a friend, you say bhatkar koshasa. But please explain what is a bhatkar.
Basically, this bhatkar word came down from Portuguese era, Because Bhatkar, in the sense, he used to have a piece of land, agricultural land. He used to live on that. And he used to live like an Bhatkar. You know, we have seen now people having drinking and all. We see small, would say younger people. This was not the time, that time. You know, they used to sit on the, would say, the window with a small glass of whiskey or something like that. And they used to enjoy the drink. You know, before having food, like for digestion, they used to drink. You know, this I have seen. And growing, you know, the surrounding with that, I've seen. They used to have that sort of a, you know, the life, social life, the way how, you know, they used to treat people. You know, people used to respect them. Slowly, you know, this started fading up. Like what we see is that how actually real estate grew up. Because initially we used to have big houses. In Hindus also, in our Christian community also, we used to have big houses where all used to stay in a joint family. Slowly people started from interiors, started migrating towards the cities. The villages developed into urbanization and urban cities also developed. Like particularly we see deep down Sangain Taluka in southern side from Kanokana, then Bedne side towards Panjim, this Kanokana side towards Margao city. Slowly, the big houses concept started, I would say, fading out. People started having small nuclear families, and that is how the requirement of flat system started growing up way back in early 80s, late 70s.
You know, before, if you think, before we get into the how real estate has changed, I want to understand the roots. You know, what are the Bhatkars, and at Bharat's younger age, you know, how was Goa different culturally? The people different. Now it's very different, right? But many of us don't know what it is like. Especially, I was born in '89, so I don't know the earlier days of Goa. And I was mostly born in Bombay. So please shed some light on...
Basically, as I mentioned to you, is that they used to live on the agriculture.
Okay.
Income. So they were actually Bhatkars, what we call is that, because coconut plucking, then other cash crops and all. It was not commercial. It was not commercial. Would say agriculture.
Oh, okay.
It was the agriculture what they had got through their ancestors, and they were maintaining.
Basically plantations.
And you must have seen that there are many families through ancestors, whatever the properties have come, they are still trying to maintain it.
So basically, the people who used to own plantations or bhats, as they were called.
That is why they are called Bhatkars.
Bhats.
The agricultural land, it was called Bhat.
Okay.
They were owning it. They were working basically along with the people down there. They used to spend time with this thing. It is not a commercial agriculture.
When you say not commercial, do you mean it's only for self-consumption? What do you mean?
Yeah, first self-consumption, and the balance is to be sold.
Okay.
It is like that. Okay. And they used to, along with the people who work there, you know, it was a community farming type, sort of. But later on, slowly, dependency on agriculture started fading out. People started going for jobs, small businesses. And that's how the commercial things started growing up. And for that commercial thing, they started slowly migrating towards cities.
Right.
And that is how the things grow.
What about you, Bharat? What is your experience growing up in Goa? What is your understanding of the word Bhatkar, how it was originally and probably how it transformed?
Well, I was born in a doctor's family. So my grandfather, Dr. Mukund Kamat, was a prominent doctor in Vasco. And if my memory serves me right, there were some German ships which were sunk in the bay, the Zuari River.
Okay. Oh, wow.
And
did you know about this?
my grandfather was the doctor on call in those days. So that was in the late 40s, during maybe mid 40s during the Second World War. So that time he was a doctor on call, and we grew up in a family which was of doctors. So grandfather was a doctor. Two of my uncles were doctors. My auntie was also a doctor. So we were basically respected. Our house was a nursing home. It was called Dr. Kamat's nursing home, and everybody used to be there.
And where was this in?
In Vasco. I'm from Vasco. And growing up, what I remember is we had a joint family. The joint family, all of us cousins were together. We grew up together. We used to go to school together. There was an age difference of one year among us. So we schooled together. In those days, the community was very small and very well knit. I remember the main road of our city, which was called Vasco da Gama, was having Ashoka tree plantations. So that was one of the first roads like having avenue plantation. And when we talk of avenue plantations today, if you look at any city, we don't see avenue plantations anywhere. Trees are cut, there are no trees, you don't have birds. So this is one thing what we have in the age of urbanization, we have forgotten nature. And as I grew up, I've seen how nature has been forgotten. I also remember my father was working in Zuari Agrochemicals. That was the biggest factory in Goa at that time. And there was a very narrow road which we used to go. We used to go to the factory. Means my father used to go to the factory on that road. Slowly, that road gave way to the road from Verna to the airport, which is now the national highway. It's a 4-lane road now. But nobody ever thought, as the roads developed, we built supporting green infrastructure around the roads. So when you look at roads today, roads have become, though they are a part of our infrastructure, no roads have been developed with green infrastructure. Like we had our Central Avenue in Vasco. And over a period of time, as commercialization crept in, even the Swatantra Path, the avenue plantation has been cut because trees had grown old. Nobody bothered to find out how do we regrow the same kind of trees, or how we create a proper ecosystem, a natural ecosystem around the town.
Yes.
And that is how I've grown up, looking at how, as the population has grown, we have lost out on the environment.
Yeah. So I think, Bharat, that probably inspired you to not only take up,
Greenhousing.
greenhousing. Greenhousing probably came in because of this. Because I think you felt that loss and you thought that you should do something. That's how the hat of the Indian Greenhousing Council came in. And that is, I think, why it became so passionate with you. Right?
Well, as I'm a civil engineer and I was in the consulting business, I'm a consulting civil engineer. Somewhere down the line, I saw that I came across this green building concept. I used to look at these architectural magazines, and every magazine used to carry some green article and all. And as a part of CII, the Confederation of Indian Industry, the Indian Confederation of Indian Industry set up the Indian Green Building Council in India. So this was set up in 2000 when Bill Clinton, the President of United States, has come to India at the invitation of then Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee. And that was the setting up. And I joined this movement somewhere later on. And I feel that today, if we want to when we look at climate change, or we look at the impact our society as environment, we have to start adopting green building practices not only in our regular life, but also in the infrastructure we build. So when we talk of infrastructure, I'm not only talking of buildings, I'm also talking of the roads, I'm talking of the offices, the commercial blocks, I'm talking of even green cities.
Yeah.
Great. We'll touch more on this topic. I wanted to ask you a question, Bharat. So you grew up in Vasco, right? Your schooling was around there only. So you did your engineering also from Goa?
I studied outside Goa. I studied at Kolhapur.
Okay.
And that gave me a different set of experiences. Okay. So I feel anybody who wants to evolve or who wants to grow as a different person should necessarily study outside his house, stay outside his house, and most probably study outside the state also.
Maybe if he's not even studied, maybe travel. I think you mean traveling opens and brings in new lessons in your life.
Traveling doesn't bring you friends.
Yeah.
It might not.
I mean,
you meant staying and living in one place.
In a hostel, things like that. Because even I studied in a hostel for 4 years in Coimbatore. It's completely different. Completely different.
I support Bharat regarding this. See, for at least a 4 or 5 years period in your schooling, colleging,
Yeah.
whatever it is, if you go out of your house, go out of your say hometown, you get to learn, and that helps you out, throughout your life.
Absolutely.
Where my experience, because I studied in Belgaum, my post
Uh-huh.
higher secondary, I went to homeopathy. I studied homeopathy in Belgaum, and I have got many friends from around, say Maharashtra, Karnataka, and many people who are in touch with me. That connect itself sometimes helps us out, knowing the local, would say the environment, local the habitation, how they would say live, the things they ask about Goa, we can would say pass on to them how we live in Goa, what for they love Goa, and all a lot many things.
Yeah.
So it basically helps you out
Absolutely.
in your the rest of the life.
Amit, you have been traveling extensively. You lived in North India and your father was in the defense, so you used to travel a lot. Your contacts have definitely helped you out today and your experiences.
I really don't know. I'll tell you a fact. See, I was born in Goa. Mom is a Goan. Most people don't know it. So my mom is a Goan. I was born here. After I was around 4.5, 5 years old, my dad was posted various places. We had 2 short lives, means to make steady friends. What used to happen, defense background, we have gone for a 1.5 years, 2 years period. They have come in middle, or they are there for 1 year previous. Hardly a year's lap. You don't make too many permanent friends. But what happened after that, I settled in Delhi for some time, north. Stayed there for almost 15, 16 years. Then came back to Goa. Last 17 years I've been here. Travel does help you. It teaches you a lot of other things. When you travel, you go abroad, you see new things, you see how people are building. So I love architecture. I'm not an architect, but I love architecture. I go to places, people say, yaar, tu building hai dekhne jata hai. What do? You are going there, you are going and staring at old buildings and standing there and looking at them. You are watching them from different angles. What are you looking at? You go there, you are looking down, you are looking up. Tu kya dekh raha hai? I study there, what they are doing, what they used to do. When you go abroad, you see some structures which have been standing for hundreds of years. Right? Some roads built. You know that in Goa, we still have an old road that used to start from near Goa Vela, from there till
Concrete road.
it was a blocked road made by blocks. That road was used for transportation of horses. Goa used to be a trading center for horses. Well known for it. Arabian horses ka India ka sabse bada supply center was Goa. So Gokapatnam, Goa Puri as they used to call it at that time, was a big thing. I love history. I love architecture. So I go in these places, I'm moving and out about that. I'll talk about things, people will look at me, this guy is a little weird. He'll be knowing points that they don't know. Because I love reading also. I pick up points from there. Traveling, and probably this thing, the reading culture came in because of my mother and their family. They had books in their house. I used to love going in nature. So I loved that kind of traveling. Love driving, going for long drives. Goa, how blessed you were to live in a green, verdant place. People do not know the blessing that Goa is.
Amit, would you say your mother's family were Bhatkars? Because they had quite a lot of...
They were Bhatkars, yes. Yeah, but the term Bhatkar, people used to call. When I came here, Bhatkar, so I said, what does Bhatkar mean? So I know it because I researched it that time. So what is a Bhatkar? Plantation owners having,
Agricultural
coconut
fields.
fields were called shetkars.
Particularly
Oh,
coconut
fields were called chitkars.
Shetkars. The people
Shetkars.
Shetkar and Shetkaris. And rampons means fishing boats were ramponkars.
Okay.
So these were how Konkani words were evolved. Bhatkar basically means a person who has got an orchard plantation, maybe of coconut trees or mangoes or whatever. They were Bhatkars. And those were traditional times. Trades were done against it. So I give you coconuts, you'll give me some rice. You'll
Barter
take
system. Some sort of a
barter
barter
system used to happen. In return of that coconuts and other things that you'll give me, I will do work at your place. Right? So those were all barters happening at that time. So that is how traditional Indian things used to work. Goa was also part of the same culture. So a lot of trading, all societies were like this. Bhatkas were little, let's talk of smaller feudal guys who used to own some lands.
There were no daily wages workers. What he
yes.
Amit
Oh, okay,
says is
yes.
that barter system, in the sense, he used to look after the bhat, he used to look after the plantation, including the plucking and all. So he used to be, he was compensated with part of coconuts.
part of
whatever
the
the fall,
crop.
whatever
Part of the
fall, certain percentage was given to him. On that itself, he used to live with his family. So these were the things immediately after post-Portuguese era, post-liberation, we have seen.
I came a decade after you. 60, I was born in 72 and I was born here only in Ribandar. And so,
But literally, I have seen how the things have changed.
Yeah. From a village system now to-
people call Portuguese houses.
Right.
See, there are no Portuguese houses as such.
This is
The
something that I
houses which were built in Portuguese era are the Portuguese houses.
so basically there is nothing
there
called
is no
Portuguese.
stru-
The same houses
architecture.
are not formed in Portugal.
There is no Portuguese architectural which is that. The houses which were built during Portuguese era, which are still there.
Yeah.
Still, there are a lot of structures that which are called Portuguese houses.
So, as Amit was saying, I think you call it Indo-Portuguese architecture.
Basically, what I
Architecture was
last
gone.
time also,
Architectural was
it
gone.
is actually a blend of traditional
Goa.
with building techniques brought in and
Yeah.
artisans brought in from Portugal. The Hindu way of living, the houses with the Rajangan in between and the large this thing suitable to the weather, the sloping
the
roofs.
bungalow tiles.
Then they said that they started using, verandas.
Yeah, the
because now
balconies.
this is to be covered, the main house is covered. That verandas became
with proper
balconies.
panipatti, how the water fall and how it should fall in that chowk, what we call the courtyard.
So the
courtyard.
Bharat, you'll be able to tell us better on this. The Mangalore tiles, what was the benefit of that? How heat management was done because of, the houses could breathe. So you will be able to tell us better on these things. And how changes, I would love to understand from you, how changes in kind of housing and housing techniques have happened over the period of time. I would like to hear from you, Bharat, and then Doctor, I would love you to elaborate a little more on that.
When we talk of the Indo-Portuguese architecture, one of the elements what came in from the traditional form of building in Goa were the Mangalore tiles. The Mangalore tiles are made of clay, natural material, and they don't absorb heat. They don't retain heat. So the difference between a cement tile and a Mangalore tile which is made of clay is retention of heat. Concrete tiles retain heat and give it out at night. That's why when you come into a city you find it hot at night because of the concrete surfaces, the plastered surfaces, which was not the case with this natural Mangalore tile. Over a period of years, as the requirement of tiles is going up, we cannot keep on extracting earth to make Mangalore tiles. So the Mangalore tiles will slowly die down because the sheer volume of tiles which require will not be able to sustain by mining of earth. So we'll be moving on to different materials for the roof tiles. We might look at something which are the concrete tiles, but those concrete tiles today are having a high surface reflectivity index paint put on them. So when they don't absorb heat, they reflect the heat. So if you're choosing a tile today, look at a tile with high reflective index. This is a recommendation.
Also touch one point, Bharat, as you said, those tiles never used to give up heat. They never had a concrete base below it. Nowadays we see people doing a slab and then putting tiles on top of it. It doesn't defeat the whole purpose of it. Doesn't make sense. Of course, the grace may come with it, but I think there was also because the heat could escape through that gaps naturally left with Mangalore tiles and everything.
Actually, when we look at proper designing of a building, it is important to have. Today, you cannot do away with an RCC roof or a steel roof.
You just can't,
because that is a part of a structure. What we have to do is we have to protect the building envelope. Yes. When we talk of a green building or when we talk of a net zero energy building, the most important is the protection of the building envelope. So when I talk of a building envelope, it is the roof, there are the walls and there are the windows. So the building envelope is the first point of entry for sunlight and heat into the building. So 40% of the heat which is absorbed by a building is through the roof. So it is better that we have a roofing system which we build on brick battens, on top of that wooden battens, and then we put our tiles on top. So that air gap between the tiles and the concrete surface, that reduces the absorption of heat into the building.
Super.
So from a green building perspective, this is a very important construction aspect or a detailing aspect which we should look at. And as we protect the building envelope, for example, another way of protecting the building envelope is rat trap bond. Many people must not have heard of rat trap bond. This was a Laurie Baker technique which he developed in Kerala. Laurie Baker was an Englishman. He came to Kerala and suggested the rat trap bond. So rat trap bond also, what happens is, it is a two bricks laid side on side with an air gap in between. So when you have an air gap between the two walls which are built within a 23 centimeter envelope, which is the size of a beam, you help in preventing heat ingress from the outer surface to the inner surface.
Wow.
So again, this is another important green building aspect. So you are preventing heat from coming into the building, and when you prevent heat from getting into the building, you are reducing your energy consumption. So when you look at a net zero building, the first thing you look at is the building envelope. Protect the building envelope so there is no heat entry into your building. Second is, you have got BEE starred appliances. BEE stands for Bureau of Energy Efficiency. So if you use starred appliances like 3-star, 4-star or 5-star, actually in the green building concept, we recommend 4-star and above. You will be reducing the energy load of your building. So automatically you have a saving on electricity. And when you follow these two principles of protecting the building envelope and using star rated appliances, then you go in for renewable energy. When you use renewable energy after following these two concepts, you are having a much reduced capital investment on your renewable energy. So a three-pronged approach in a building: protect the building envelope, use star rated appliances, and use renewable energy. This is the best way to go forward when you are talking of a green building or a net zero building.
Dr. Desh, how have you seen Goa evolve from, large family homes, nuclear homes, to now, as you can see, especially in Panjim and major cities of Goa, buildings and things like that? You have seen the entire evolution.
Yeah, what has happened is that basically small migration started coming out from the interiors of the Goa.
Mm-hmm.
Particularly interiors of Kanakona, Pangin, all those, mountain areas, Sange, then Sawadeng, these all areas, people wanted to come for job, for health purpose. They started slowly migrating towards, cities.
Mm-hmm.
And particularly immediate city is Margaon.
Right.
In South Goa. The same way in North Goa also, people started migrating towards Mapsa, Panjim and all. And then this requirement of this flat system started developing. And as how Bharat said is that, ultimately if you go for flat system, then we have to go for multiple dwellings. And when you go for multiple dwellings, then we had to go for frame structure, RCC structure. And that is how, these all aspects started changing from the rooftops.
Yeah.
We
and
started,
also from
we
natural
started constructing our RCC structures, and then we started thinking of our this heat problem, water problem, and then we started, mixing up both the things. Like how he said that we go for RCC, roof, and then we started putting tiles on that. Nowadays, what I have seen is that in the buildings, first of all, people start asking where exactly I have to put the AC. So they have slowly started adopting the latest whatever is that it is not a luxury anymore now. Like once upon a time in my childhood, what I had seen is that having a telephone in a house was a luxury.
Yeah.
Telephone. Having a car in the house was a luxury. Nowadays, in every house we find minimum four cars, minimum 2 to 4 cars. And that is how the things started changing. Our building structure also started changing. Because everybody started asking, we want proper parking for our cars. Because the cost of the car is almost half the cost of the flat. People are having, the cars costing from 25 lakhs to 30 lakhs. Some people don't afford to buy, we go for this affordable housing and all. But people have these cars and they say that we want proper parking. So that's how the still parking came, basement parking came. The things, slowly started changing as per the
demands
requirements.
and requirements.
Yeah.
Yes.
As per the requirements. Like once I was discussing with Amit that low density housing. See, in the cities it is not possible. We have to go for high rise.
Yeah.
Because we have to accommodate people. Still in the villages, still in suburban areas and all, we could still restrict to and as per the regional plan, we have to still restrict to ground plus 2. And so that at least it remains low density. And that is how the requirement made us to change into the
I know
real estate.
Amit is a big proponent of low density housing.
I'm not here. My thing is, low density housing should be in the areas where
It's
lot of
traditionally
land
low
is
there
density.
is lot of land is there.
Yeah.
In cities, of course, vertical development is there. I am a proponent of horizontal development, but not unplanned.
Yeah. In
My
the
thing
right
is,
context.
we have to plan for the infrastructure for 50 years growth, right? A building comes in, there is a nala that can take a load of only a ground plus 2 structure, and we put a 10-story building there. What is going to happen? Flooding will start happening, right? Water management will go haywire. So what I meant is, our planning has to go in. We plan after things are done. In cities, urban planning, sadly, we have been lacking. I think there is change coming in with all these smart city things. We are planning drains, we are planning other things. But even then, I think we are still lagging behind. I hope with people like you, Doctor, with people like you, Bharat, you can influence the planners per se. See, I don't blame just the government, like people will say, because they do not know these things. But when our urban planners come in, if they plan it and they have a horizon of 50 years, this is going to be the density of this area. You specify the densities of areas. You specify the load it can take. Your sewerage systems are ready for it. We bring in sewerage management systems, garbage management systems beforehand, plan for it, and then do expansion and vertical development. It is fine. But when we do not have these facilities, when we expect people to have a soak pit and a septic tank, and then we want a vertical building to happen, one of the most terrible things to happen. Why I said, I've been telling people it is better for a house having a little open areas, because you can do a little composting there, garbage management will be better, things will be better, but we do not think of these things. In villages, our TCP department, with all good intentions, put the height restriction to 9 meters. Now they made a mistake by saying including stilt. Now if you, Bharat, will agree with me, if you do a proper, open spaces with adequate parking, gardens on the sides and everything, where will the parking go if there is no stilt area? And because of that, now it's defeating the whole purpose. Cars are parked outside. Each flat will have 2 cars at least. That has become a problem. Our public transport systems are not catching up. There are a lot of things to be done. These things require planning. And I've been a proponent of planning. If you have planned things, if we think of it properly, we'll have amazing growth. And sustainable development requires planning.
Yep.
And sustainable development requires what Bharat has been propagating in the green building norms. See, he's been talking of heat signatures, right? The building envelope.
Yes.
Now, I knowingly asked you a question which I knew the answer of. But why I wanted, because others watching it might not know even the answer of. By saying renewable energy, solar, roof mounted solar is a thing that can be put in. There are green roofs coming in, where you are literally having a garden on the roof to put in things. There are water management, water harvesting. There is the wastewater recycling things. If we put these things with the proper light and wind management is done, with the houses having good circulation of air, with light requirements reducing because the house's planning is proper, that light is there. What difference comes in the house? What cost-wise also difference it makes? I'm going to ask you 3 questions. Why I'm putting this is, what difference it makes to the environment, what difference it makes to the cost, and how we can maintain aesthetics along with it. This is something that I want to ask you. And doctor, after he finishes, I want you to take up one thing, is how important is aesthetics and visual aesthetics, especially in development, and how important it is, and why I don't see any regulation on this. At least broad guidelines are not there. I don't say Inspector Raj should be there on it, but broad guidelines have given for aesthetics. Do you think it will make a difference to our cities and future developments in places like Goa especially? Bharat, you first.
See, I will start with, you talked of a sustainable planning.
Yes.
It is actually sustainable planning, design and execution.
Beautiful.
These are the things what go hand in hand. You cannot talk of only planning. Planning is followed by design. Planners do the planning, they allot the zones. So when you plan a city or you plan a township, you are talking of the buildable areas, which would be either the settlement or commercial zones with their respective FARs. Once you decide on the zones with the FARs, then you talk of green spaces. We cannot forget green spaces. Green spaces, we live around green spaces. We have to have green spaces for biodiversity. We have to have birds, we have to have bees, we have to have all flora and fauna, because that is our life. And any green space within the city is very important, because that's a place where children can go and play. That's a place where citizens can relax. That's a space where our senior citizens also can get together, because today senior citizens are living in isolation. We all know that children have traveled for work, senior citizens are alone. So the only way that they can get together is in these green spaces which we plan. So from a planning aspect, this is what we have to look at. Then comes the design. Design is, once we say we have a city or a township, we take the FARs, we calculate the density of that area, we calculate the population of that area. Once we do that, we can actually plan our drainage network, what you spoke of.
Yes.
It will be a very, very important aspect actually, the drainage network, the sewerage network and the lighting load. So once you look at the overall planning, which comes in the green building norms again, integrated planning, that's where we get into sustainable planning, execution and planning, design and execution. That would be the first aspect. Second, you spoke about the green part. A green building and a normal building, appearance is the same. What changes in that is the choice of smart materials, the choice of smart, smart engineering, whether it is your smart lighting or your smart transportation within the building or any other aspect. So when we look at execution of a building, execution is not different. Changes are the use of materials and the techniques which we use when we build. Now we have got a project which was a resort where the owners went in for a post-tension slab, and believe me, we had a saving in terms of cement, that is concrete, we had a saving in terms of steel, and we had a saving in terms of shuttering material.
How much difference would it, in percentage wise?
By using a smarter construction technique, they saved about 1 crore on an 8,000 square meter structure.
Wow.
So that is quite a sustainable
that is
sum
huge.
which they saved.
So instead of it being more costly, it actually came out to be cost effective.
Not only cost effective, by cutting down on concrete, we have reduced greenhouse gas emissions created because of cement.
Yes.
We have reduced the amount of khadi and sand which is used in the building. The amount of shuttering material was cut down. Shuttering material, again, you go back and you cut trees for plywood. So we reduced the number of trees which were cut because shuttering was reduced. And we reduced the amount of steel that went into a building. So there was a substantial saving, not in on the economic sense, which I gave you a figure of 1 crore. This is a calculated figure. Second is we have saved on greenhouse gas emissions. So we have been environmentally friendly by using a more modern or a better construction technique.
Superb, superb. This is an aspect that people should know, that it is not just, people think it is expensive. Not expensive, it is cost effective. It also is more environment friendly, and you save man hours as well, I suppose.
Yes.
Right? So, my whole thing is, aesthetics wise also, you said it makes no difference. Rather, wouldn't a green building actually be better? Because light planning is I think crucial aspect of it. In the daytime, a building which has got more glass, more this thing actually looks more beautiful, is what I think.
See, in green buildings, we do not recommend a fully glass building.
Not fully. I'm talking.
We talk of a window to wall ratio,
yes,
which we maintain. So in the design parameters, that window to wall ratio is always taken into account.
Yes.
We talk of energy efficient glass. So when you talk of energy efficient glass, you let in the sunlight, you keep out the heat. So that is another aspect. And we talk of large windows because large windows, as you said, they bring in the nature. So when you look at nature, you feel happy. The daylight in the building helps you perform better. If you have natural ventilation, it gets in a better feel in the building. You feel better. So these are various aspects of designing green.
So
designing and building green.
These green building not only cost effective, environment friendly, but also keep you happy. Right? It brings more happiness, more joy into your living. Correct?
Yes.
So that's a beautiful angle to it. I don't think people have even thought of this till now. But doctors, what is your take? What do you think?
See, aesthetically, it is ultimately the responsibility of a builder and the architect and the people involved in the structure of the building. So what happens is that for the commercial sake, if you construct commercially, to look into the viability of commercial aspects, you allow anything to do. Sometimes, aesthetically the building looks very bad. Particularly in our construction, because my son is very particular about, he being an architect, he is very particular about the aesthetic look, because we take a lot of pain, he takes a lot of pain of designing, including the commercial shops, signages.
Yes.
He says that he earmarks the area where the signage is, and look, signages will be different of different, commercial, establishment. But the size of the signage, if you specify, the area, if you specify, when he puts up that and somebody looks, a common man goes by the side of the road, looks at the building, it looks so decent. He looks into these smaller aspects. Second aspect, what Bharat said is that about the nature. He says that lot of nature is there outside. So we have to live with the nature. So living with the nature, brings a lot of comfort in the house. So wherever possible, go for a wider glass windows. Secondly, we for protection we go for the grills, MS grills for the windows and all. So he is very particular about that. It should have a proper design which looks uniform. Otherwise, somebody puts a bucket grill, then he puts his plantation. So he designs plants in the building. So these are small aspects which can turn out the building in a beautiful way, and that is how, because the structures remain.
Yeah.
Always.
Dr. Desh, you come from an era when you were younger, there was traditional buildings, there was Indo-Portuguese architecture, there were use of natural elements. Then we moved to modern construction methods. Now Bharat is propagating green construction methods. So can both of you discuss what are the advantages and benefits of each? In our modern day, for example, say low density building, Are these traditional materials and natural materials beneficial, or should we go for green? And what's the difference for those of us who don't understand?
Then basically what happens was what we were discussing about when we started having requirement of the flats and the multiple dwellings, we went into the conventional method of frame structures.
Right.
We started going for RCC structures, walls, and a lot many things. And that we noticed that we are lacking somewhere what was there before.
Yes.
Like how
Like
Bharat
for
said,
example?
like Bharat said, you know, you must have seen the old houses. If you go enter, the roof top was almost a double height top.
Yeah.
That time the structures were load bearings, only walls, and lot many things. There was no cement used previously. That this lime and this mixed,
yes.
these two have the walls
Plaster,
finish. There were the walls were not plastered properly with laterite, which is we were having in abundance, but lot of exploitation happened with these minor minerals like metal, then sand, then this laterite, and then these environmental hazards came, environmental disturbances came, and then slowly, now we have to go back to this green.
Scarcity of material happened
to
because of
compensate that,
Okay.
the difficulties which was faced because of.
Okay, that's why we are shifting
I
now to
remember
green.
Bharat making a point, and Dr. Saab also saying the same thing, that earlier, as you were making out, limestone was used, lime plaster was used. That allowed the walls to breathe. Those walls were double walls with mud in between them, right? And that was giving a different.
Heat protection.
We started putting concrete and using laterite blocks, so the breathing element went out for a toss.
Exactly.
So it was no use doing it. So with that, the weight of walls increased. So Bharat, I remember when we were talking earlier, you were talking of why fly ash bricks are better, why they are more this thing. I would like you to just have a word on that. Then I have a very pertinent question about the future of Goa. So I just want to ask you.
See, as mass housing came in, mass housing is a need today because our
Yes.
population is growing, aspirations of people are growing, and everybody wants a better standard of living.
Yes.
Now, when we talk of better standard of living, as they said, we talk of air conditioning of a house. So everybody today has an aspiration of an air conditioner. Now, how do we reduce air conditioning load? Is by building smart and by building green. Rat trap bond is one way that prevents the heat ingress. Building insulation or roof insulation is another way, and that's the way we reduce this. Cars also are an important aspect of a standard of living. People aspire to have cars. Coming from an Asian background, anybody in Asia will tell you the dream is to buy a car.
Yes,
As they spoke about it earlier also, the aspiration is to buy a car. So
It used to be a scooter at one
Yeah.
time. So from cycle, I remember I wanted a cycle. I had a cycle.
Yes.
Then I wanted a scooter. The dream was a scooter. When I had a scooter, the dream changed. I will own a Maruti one day. Of
Yes.
course, and that is how things grow.
So that is
People
aspiration
have to
is
be
there.
ambitious.
that is the aspiration of the people.
Yes,
So
I
as we
agree.
talk of a generational change in the requirements of people, aspirations have changed. So there's no point in harping on tenna baraya shille. Those days are gone.
Gone.
Because that time
Populations
the
were
population
less.
was less, the
Yes.
pressures on land was less. So there are we are living in a different era. So as we are living in a different era, we have to adopt sustainable products as of today.
Absolutely.
So one of the products which has an impact on environment today, we build using cement. Earlier we used to use OPC cement, ordinary Portland cement. Today we are using blended cements. Blended cements again are, you use slag cement or fly ash. Slag cement, fly ash are again waste products. So you are now using cement with a recycled content. So you have changed your material to be sustainable. The first and the largest consumption is material is cement.
Are these blocks structurally good?
He's talking of
I'm
cement.
talking of cement.
Yes.
I'm talking of the
The
RCC
cement
structure.
itself, cement itself.
I'm talking
Cement
of
itself, but is it
Yeah.
as good as like a virgin cement, for example?
There's no virgin cement.
Meaning without fly ash.
Yeah, so OPC was impacting the environment
Okay.
because you need higher amount of mining. You have to extract the raw material. Today, by using blended cements, you have reduced the impact on environment by using a recycled material.
Okay. Recycled.
And also, when you use recycled material, your mining for virgin material is less. So, the Indian Green Building Council's norms have been framed based on our national priorities. So, national priorities are reduction in use of virgin material.
Got it.
Now, a lot of people talk of laterite block. Laterite block was good once upon a time, but as we are entering an era of mass housing and when we are going vertical, can we extract so much stone to satisfy the need?
Also, Bharat, I think there is a pertinent point also that you, being a structural engineer, would be the best guy to tell. The load that a normal
Yes.
laterite block wall has vis-a-vis a fly ash or a bricks built with slag.
See, the weight of a laterite block, a 23 centimeter laterite wall and a 23 centimeter brick wall would be the same. But here, if we adopt the rat trap bond building technique, we would be reducing the weight of the wall by a tremendous amount. Or we can use what you call as AAC blocks. AAC
Lightweight.
blocks are lightweight blocks. So that will again reduce the weight on the structure. So what
that
happens
reduces
is
also
Yes.
concrete, steel
yes,
requirements.
when you reduce the weight on your structure, your requirement of carrying a heavier load are reduced. So your building structure becomes
Lighter.
leaner.
Leaner and lighter.
So when you use a better material, you cut down on your consumption of cement and steel. So these are modern materials or greener materials which help you save at every aspect of this. You spoke of fly ash bricks. Bricks earlier were country bricks. They were red bricks. They were burnt in the open. We used to, in Goa, I remember we used to get bricks from Khanapur.
Khanapur, yes.
Today, we are using fly ash bricks. When you talk of bricks and fly ash, that means we are taking a reject material
Yes.
and making bricks.
Yeah, those are the black color bricks.
Yeah, the black color bricks. So the red bricks are out because they were made of mud and they were fired with using wood. They led to a lot of pollution.
Pollution.
Today you are
Huge amount
using
of pollution.
fly ash bricks. So
And from
fly
an
ash,
engineering point of view, are they equivalent?
see, any material you use has got to satisfy the Indian standards. So you have got Indian standards for everything, and you are going to use those bricks as per the standards. So you cannot just make a brick. Tomorrow I go and say I'm going to make a brick. No, I have to make a brick. There are
That
Indian
is certain
standards.
compression, certain weight,
Everything is
requirement there.
defined by our Indian standards.
And they are at par.
They are better
Better.
They're better.
because
They're
country bricks are made in country standards.
And not only that, country bricks lead to stripping of fertile land. Clay.
Yes.
Fertile clay is removed, the top
Yes.
layers, which is good for growing, is removed.
Exactly.
And you destroy a whole place. And in north they had this. These chimneys they used to put,
Bhattis.
what used to call bhattis. So they used to say farmer ka bhatta baith gaya means he has sold his land and his soil is gone. Now forever he cannot grow anything there.
Yeah,
So
nature
they
is
used to say
lost.
iska bhatta baith gaya. So that was the saying that came in north. Bhatta baith gaya means he is now finished. Nothing is going to remain of him. And the best part is now that not just fly ash, iron slag is also used in brick making.
That is
It
a-
is very light.
that is
ACC
a blended-
bricks.
blended
It's a
Yeah,
blended
everything
this
is
thing,
recycled,
and it is recycling. Helps save nature, creates a better, leaner building, as you said. So these things are very important, and these aspects have taken in by developers, adopted by public also, because the receptivity I've seen of public is little less on these things. They all, this traditional mentality is there. No, the laterite block is the better this thing. We shouldn't have. I think people should understand them before just
See,
going blindly on
Amit,
things.
Amit, the difference, if you look at a laterite block is plastered using cement.
Yes,
Now, cement automatically is going to absorb heat and radiate it out at night. Now, forget that aspect. If you take a old building and you cut the wall, you might find laterite having plaster of 8 to 10 centimeters.
Yes.
So you can imagine the amount of
heat that is
no
there.
amount of wastage of material.
Yes.
You're wasting sand, you're wasting cement just to make a straight line of that laterite block. Whereas today, if you use wire cut bricks, machine cut bricks, or AAC blocks, you can do away with your plaster,
Even plaster.
and use a gypsum finish on the wall. So again you are saving on
Time, money, material, everything.
you are saving on material which is
Even
well as
money and
cost
labor.
Which is
labor
again your-
They're just cost effective.
and the environment, because cement is
Again,
having
bad.
greenhouse gases.
Absolute. So good information, Bharat. Sir,
We spoke a lot of, I think, real estate and say the building aspects. There is one aspect which is common in both of us, which I think we can a little bit touch post liberation. What has happened is health. As he also comes from the medical field, with a family, medical family. I am also, I have seen, because as my father, I myself being, I own a hospital also, a general hospital. Post-liberation, I would just like to touch a bit, is that what I have seen is that we had a concept of a family physician.
Yes.
Yes.
Now it's
During,
barely there.
during
Yes,
my childhood,
yes,
I have seen
absolutely.
anybody, even a slightest sneeze in the house, the family member who used to go to the nearest person, family physician who used to sit as a general practitioner, and then he used to guide.
Yeah.
The things what I have seen slowly going different is that now people don't go to the family
GPs,
physician.
they go
This
to a
family
specialist.
physician is phased out to reduced to 10%.
Yeah.
Reduced to 10%. And people rush to the hospitals.
Right.
One. That is how the requirement of the hospitals have come, private hospitals, particularly in Goa. We have a very beautiful government hospital, Goa Medical College Hospital, which is renowned in throughout our Asia, and the best, I would say. Then we have the consultants, and now because of this Google, directly people are, would say, googling up and going towards, would say the consultant, and they guide the consultant of. That is how what. Even what, as we were discussing about the post-liberation, what the things have changed. This is the change, one of the changes which I have seen.
Absolutely.
And Bharat will agree with me. I was just, I wanted to mention it because we were already discussing concrete structures and this thing.
It's a
But
human aspect.
in Goa, what I have seen since my childhood is one of the things is this. Another thing which is education. Definitely, but I have seen we have still in our interiors good society schools.
Oh, what's that? I've never heard of that.
Society schools. See, during those era, during my childhood, what I have seen is that the requirement of schooling was required in the villages or the small towns. Small 4 to 5 families, big families, local families used to come together, form a small education society. And they used to start a school.
Wow.
It was absolutely non-commercial school.
Okay.
And the need, what, every family requires schooling for their child. And because of that, these small
And the quality of
society
the
schools started.
base
I have
education
studied in this
was
type
superb
of
in
schools.
Really?
I have studied also in convent as I have travelled around. We have beautiful convent schools in Goa. Very beautiful. I have studied in one of the Don Bosco's branch in Valpoi. We have lot of potential, schooling potential, lot of knowledge potential in Goa. If it is explored a bit, we have well-educated people, well-placed in Indian level. Even, we'll say, the banking system, one of the topmost bank, SBI chairman was one of the. We have many people at Baba Atomic. We have politicians growing, educated politicians growing to the level of national. So definitely Goa is, would say, seen at the national, international level. But one thing what sometimes we discuss is that our image towards Goa, outside Goa, is little bit, and particularly what we have seen is in Bollywood movies and all, is shown a bit, in a very bad sense. Like nowadays, previously it was shown as another Bangkok. People used to think, and people used to rush here. Then again now it is promoted as a casino, or say, den in Goa. And latest what we are seeing is that every movie, when the drug aspect comes, people mention about Goa.
Mention Goa is shown
You know,
as
it is. I think we all should come together and try to show it to people that it is not that way. We have lot of culture. We have lot of our local culture. We must have seen. You know, during Carnival we can see lot of our people would say displaying their we have theatre. We have the theatre is the best. You know how the dramas, the small plays in different states.
And it's very
We have
popular
this
still.
Theatre is is a local would say
Form of entertainment.
acting, and we have beautiful actors. We have Shigmo. We have Shigmo displayed. Every village, they have their own tradition of doing. You know, these things have to be promoted outside.
Doctor, people don't know what Shigmo is. So I'll just intervene and just say, Shigmo is one of the traditional Goan Hindu way of celebrating the harvest, wherein, drums, drum beats, formations, these are done. And nowadays we have a very good Shigmo parade happening regularly in Goa. It's one of the most amazing things to see. And we should also elaborate that, people, you were talking of a stereotype. Earlier, if you saw a movie, even in Bobby, a Goan was shown a drunkard, sitting, shirt open. That was the image. Then these movies like, recently one of that movie came, Go Goa Gone, and then other movie where the Deepika Padukone and the other people were there, a drug lord, mafia, this thing. This
has to go.
People
This
get
image has to
this
go.
thing. The idea of this talk show also actually was, when we were discussing, me and Ryan and other guys together, we thought we should talk of Goa, how Goa is, the culture of Goa, Mardol festival.
Every Datras. We have all temples, they have Datras.
Mount Fest. What amazing cultural exchanges are there. In Kala Academy, I've been so blessed to watch Birju Maharaj perform there multiple times and listen to people. I go for Mardol festival quite regularly, sit in the audience, see the performances. My wife was a dancer, so she has that interest. So we both go there. The Mount Fest, we go there. So many good things in Goa that we can promote and get probably more tourism, and this culture tourism is something which is wonderful. We sadly went the mass tourism way and are destroying what is Goa. I want you to talk of, both of you, to also in the Goan aspect, the cultural aspect of Goa, and the flavor of Goa that you think should be retained.
One or two lines I would like to conclude is that, first of all, as we discussed about, the image of Goa has to be changed slowly. We have to take initiative, and government also is taking initiative of promoting the culture like Shigmo, Carnival, these all the things. These are our traditional things which we have been enjoying since our childhood. We have been enjoying.
This time the Carnival had an actual local flavor.
Exactly.
Rather than what commercialization had happened.
Exactly. As far as the real estate is concerned, definitely without disturbing the environment, it is the responsibility of we as builders, as the people who are involved like Bharat, and people like you who promote our products and all, that we do not disturb the surrounding, we do not disturb the environment, but we cater to the requirement of the people.
Absolutely. So, Bharat, what's your take?
Goa being a tourist state, we have to look at tourism from a sustainable angle.
Absolutely.
We have earned a sort of a bad reputation, but again, the solution comes in sustainability.
Absolutely.
In our green resorts, there are points. There's a green resort rating system developed by IGBC. In that rating system, we have got points for hiring of local labor. So you have to hire people from the vicinity. You cannot bring in people from outside, and parachute them as specialists. You have to create your infrastructure,
Your talent pool.
train local labor, create a talent pool. That is a requirement of a sustainable resort. Second is, we talk of buying all our, food products from a vicinity of 50 kilometers. So when you talk of 50 kilometers, again, you have to buy from the local fields. शेतान वचून घेवचे पडटा. नुस्तें बाजारान येता तें आमी लोकल घेवपा जाय. We cannot bring local fish and serve basa, which is from, I don't know, Vietnam or...
Not even Vietnam, God knows from where.
Wherever it is from.
Absolutely.
So, again, the solution comes in the green building rating. So, not only that, there are points also if you create cultural events, local cultural events in your resort. So, that is a requirement from our rating system. So, actually, when we talk of building green, we are also talking of supporting the local people, creating a local talent pool, creating local artists, because culture is, you cannot bring a person, say from Ukraine or China or Russia and have a Russian dance. We are talking of the local dance. So we are talking of Fugdi, we are talking of serenading at the table. We are talking of serenading at the tables. We are talking of local talent. We can even have a music show, which is creating again local musicians, local magicians. Why should we? Today, I don't. If you want a magician, I don't know where you are going to get a magician. But if you come into adopt a green building rating system, you will have to create local magicians. So you are going to create local jobs. You are going to create local talent, local musicians, local dancers, local performers. So building green is not only building green, but creating an ecosystem, creating job employments locally. This is what is building green, and this is what is sustainable tourism.
I think this is very much required. And you pointed it out. I didn't realize this aspect. By chance, this has happened. Developer, architect, engineer is there, and a broker is there. So I didn't realize this has happened by chance, not planned at all. And because timings were matching and everything was matching.
We can do beautiful Goa.
Actually,
we can give beautiful Goa to people.
I think all three of us is one common thing. I preach to people, and I preach it because people don't like it. And they considered it preaching, that do something good, maintain aesthetics, get in local material, try to do something with a local flavor, try to create some good ambience, create value. I keep on telling people, create value. Very few people do it. Doctor, you know why you were my choice? Because of your son's architecture. I am seriously telling you. Plus, you are a wonderful human. The support when we started out Goa Association of Realtors that doctor gave us, I know his blessings has caused us to be what we are. So him, I respect a lot. And I respected him even more when I saw his son doing construction of a tie in Margao, of all places, which was way ahead of his time. You, with what you have been doing, Bharat, have always respected and always wanted to hear from you and help, take what you want to give to the people, to the masses. So we thought this talk show will be a medium where we can give thoughts out, ideas out, share with people and tell people Goa is more than just what you think. Goa is much more. The people of Goa are
more
much
than
more.
What you see.
And
exactly.
This is what Goa is. The talent pool that actually is not just at par with others, probably exceeds others. The people of Goa have got an intellect which can beat many aspects. Fact is, a small state in India, the population is hardly anything. If we talk of our city, we are not even a tier 2 city. We are a tier 3 city, Panjim, or rather 4. We have a population of about 2.5 lakhs in Panjim. Not even that probably. Total Goa is around, today 15. Must have reached around 20. It was 15 in the last census when it was done. So we'll be around 20 somewhere. Panjim is around 2.5 lakh. So we are not even a tier 4 city probably. Yet, see it was a planned city when it was done. One of the oldest municipalities of Asia. And it was reclaimed land, sanitation, everything was planned at that time. Unfortunately, it's grown behind this thing, but with the smart cities thing coming in, I hope these people, I'm seeing that they are trying to do things. And with trying efforts only things come in. So with people like you promoting these things, I think we'll see some good thing happening. Thank you for both of you for being here. Thanks again, Doctor. Thank you, Bharat, seriously, for taking out time, coming with from your work schedule. I know you're quite busy. I know Doctor has got a lot of load on Margao, calling on his time. He wears so many hats that it becomes difficult for him to take out time. So thank you again.
Yeah.
Man,
So thank you very much, Dr. Desh and Mr. Bharat. We had a large range of topics and we were able to address them. I think we did justice to all of them. So thank you once again for being on our talk show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Susegaad Musings. Stay tuned for the release of the next episode of Susegaad Musings exactly in 1 week. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and any other podcasting platform. Watch us on our YouTube channel or follow us on Instagram and Facebook @Susegaad Musings. Susegaad Musings is brought to you by Amit Chopra and me myself, Ryan Lobo. I will see you in the next episode.